First of all, I just want to say thank y'all so much for all the positive comments and the positive feedback, encouraging me to make more of these videos. So now I have no doubt in my mind I'm going to keep making more of these for y'all and keep helping you sing. And I also wanted to say I am not affiliated with any other vocal coaching organization. This is my own. This is Chris Keller VX Studios. This is all from me. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about anybody I've ever worked with in the past. In fact, the guy I know some of you know I used to work with, fantastic dude. I still hang with the guy. In fact, I'm doing some of the demo work on the last CD program that he put out. So we're still buddies, and we respect each other very much, actually. So just let you know, there's no weirdness going on or anything between us. So anyway, like I said, I'm just doing my own thing, and I've gotten out and lived in Nashville and Brooklyn, performed lots of different places of the country, and just went through a bit of a transformation myself as an artist. And a lot of the stuff I'm teaching is stuff that I've just honestly just picked up from over the years, and I've picked up from a lot of coaches, college professors, even some stuff back in high school, and of course the people I used to work with in Nashville, just honestly myself, just some personal experience. So that's where a lot of this is coming from. So I don't want anybody to think anything weird or there's any beef going on between vocal coaches. That's absolutely not true. And I'm also a firm believer that most vocal coaches are right. It's very rare you'll find a vocal coach that's wrong, but it's how you use it, and it's how that vocal coach can also use it, and how they are able to have their students use that. And there's a time and place for everything. And I'm sure some of y'all don't like what I've had to say, and that's okay. Best of luck to you, and best of luck on your singing journey. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to sing better and just enjoy what we do, and that's important. So anyway, now that I got that out of the way, that warm-up videos went extremely well. Once again, thank you for all the love. And I will move on now to head voice stuff. And head voice is something that comes up a lot. I always get as I said before, high notes. How can I sing high notes? How can I sing high notes? I want to be able to sing high notes. Like, I hear you. And some of you already know about the mix. And it's very simple. It's very easy to look at as this hard to achieve big, full, thick tone. In actuality, all it is a very simple definition, just a combination of the head and chest voice mixed together. That's all it is. So don't overthink it. Don't overthink the mix. I tell a lot of my students, you speak in a mix. If someone comes up to you, hits you in the shoulder, you don't say, "Oh, why did you do that?" You say, "Ow, that really hurt. Why'd you do that?" You know, you get kind of mad, a little angry, or you just know it's a buddy. You're like, "Oh, come on, man." So we use different parts of our voice when we speak, and we go up high quite a bit. So one of the best ways to start attacking high notes, those big, full high notes, is actually to work on your head voice. My head voice used to be absolutely terrible. I remember when I was about 14, 15 in choir back in high school, and she had all the tenors stand up, and we all in a row had to sing this part of a choir piece. It was full head voice. And I remember when it got to me, the choir director, her name was awesome. Her name was Mrs. Reed. I love Mrs. Reed. She looks at me and she just gives me a funny look like, "Okay, next." Moves on, and I thought, oh, I guess I didn't have my head voice down very much. Luckily, at the time, I was really into, don't laugh, but I don't care. I'm proud. I was into NSYNC and all that good stuff when I was back 14, 15. Those are my boys. Those are my, I looked up to them. They're my idols. Of course, Justin Timberlake went on to do what he does. And there were many times I would try to imitate the Justin Timberlake head voice. So when I was a kid, a lot of me learning head voice came from imitation. It was simple as that. And then of course I listened to a lot of R&B, a lot of even some old Broadway stuff, and even some of the old the 50s 60s stuff, the Jersey Boys stuff, the big girls don't cry. I would learn how to achieve that sound. I would try to get the smooth, chill R&B sound. I would try to get the Justin Timberlake poppy head voice sound. And I think from experimenting all those different head voices over the years, I really learned to kind of relax my head voice a little bit more. And then when it got to the point where I was using it more often in actual singing pieces, whether it be some jazz music, R&B, rock and roll, even some country stuff, I'll even throw it in there just every now and then. Just doing it also helps more than anything. So for those of you that are really struggling with head voice, my main advice to you from the very beginning is to, one, just relax. Don't worry about it. Sometimes head voice just takes a while to get. Don't let it scare you. And the more you sit and just experiment with it, imitating other singers that do it, you'll find you're not only will what's in here develop, but your ear will develop. You'll start hearing things more that you can adjust and little things here and there. And that'll make a big difference. But on to a good head voice exercise. Those of y'all that watched the warm-ups, we talked a bit about breathing through words and exhaling. Don't force air out, but let air out as you're singing. And as you're basically vocalizing words. And in doing that, we can actually take that and move it up into the head voice extremely easily. It's easy to do. I don't want you to, once again, overthink it. Take a simple phrase. One of my songs, it's called Every Little Bit. It's a good old Douglas Warren piece. Douglas Warren song, Douglas Warren tune, whatever you want to call it. Every little bit, and there's this breakdown part. Make sure I'm in the key here. It's actually kind of low head voice, but for this purpose, I think it'll definitely serve its purpose. I think it's every breath, every mess, every tear, I'm always near. Fold me up, I love every story. Then it comes back into the chorus. Whoa, 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 every little bit, every little bit. Whoa, 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 every little bit, yeah. The guitar comes in, then I start screaming, every little bit, yeah. And it's fun to do. But that's one of my tunes, and I like to throw a little bit of head voice, or as some of us say, falsetto, into that part in the bridge section, really bring it down. It's more of a bit of a hard rock tune, so I like the dynamics of it. But as you notice, there's some weird parts where I descend down into my normal voice, as you want to call it, my light mix. Every breath, every mess. We're chill there with some head voice. Every tear, the word tear, every tear, I'm always near. So right there, I'm kind of on that breaking point. So I go from head voice down into the actual light mix. Now, that can be a little challenging if that's something you're a little new to. There's lots of songs that do that. That's just my song, that's my little example, but there's so many songs that do that. And they do it a lot more than you think. A lot more. It's easy to turn on head voice and then turn it off, then go back down to the normal voice. But don't think like that. Head voice is always a part of your voice. And it's also really easy to get caught up in falsetto versus head voice. Two completely different things. And if someone wants to sing head voice, they worry that their voice is too breathy. Well, it sounds like falsetto. That's bad, right? No, that's not bad. That's okay. Now, it is a little weird sometimes if we're supposed to be singing a light falsetto voice, and you're going, every breath, every mess, every tear, I'm always near. That's just weird. I feel weird for doing that. It's just strange. It's very proper, and it goes back to even opera days. We don't really want that in commercial music much. Sometimes we want to achieve that head voice tone, that strong, pure head voice tone, but it's not very useful, honestly. You'll hear it in some really cool R&B, But even then, it's up there and it's tasteful. It's in the song. So that's kind of the first thing. Is what I'm doing tasteful. I'm struggling with head voice, but if I go for it, I get head voice. But is it tasteful? And that's when you have to ask yourself how much you have to work on it and exactly what you have to work on. And if you're looking for that real heavy head voice sound, fear no more. It's easy to get, but I actually recommend starting with a more breathy falsetto sound. That's much easier to do. So there's two things we're going to do here, two little simple exercises. One of them goes back to exactly what we did with those warm-up videos, speaking the words. I'm going to take that phrase, every breath, every mess, every tear, you know I'm always near. Take those words, and what I'm going to do is take that that first note right there, and all I'm going to do is try my best to just speak the words from the song. I'm going to speak the lyrics on the note. Every breath, every mess, every tear, you know I'm always near. Phone me up, you know I love every story. Now once again, it sounds a little weird, but that's okay. We're just exercising, we're not performing. Then what I'm gonna do, I think it's an A there. It's actually fairly low for head voice, especially for falsetto for me, but I can keep going. Every breath, every mess, every tear, you know I'm always near. Phone me up, you know I love every story. Anyway, continue. I almost forgot my own words to my own song for a second. And that happens actually a lot when you're actually working on the voice, when you're working on some technical stuff and you forget some of the easiest lyrics ever, which I'm kind of glad I just did that. Don't worry about it. You're focusing on practicing, you're focusing on technique. You're not focusing on singing the song straight through as you would perform it. So if you forget an easy, simple word here and there, please don't let that discourage you. That'll just throw you off track and you'll completely lose focus in what you're doing. So if your focus is on taking the words and reciting them in head voice, focus on that. Focus on taking the words and reciting them in head voice on a particular note, that light falsetto sound. And don't worry if you forget a word or two, because that's not your main goal while you're doing that. So, go up one more. Every breath, every tear, every fear, you know I'm always near. Phone me up, you know I love every story. You can never bore me. I messed up the words again, but I don't care. Back here again. Every breath, every mess, every tear, you know I'm always near. Phone me up, you know I love every story. You can never bore me. There you go. Then I got it. I took a big deep breath. I relaxed. All of a sudden my words were just fine. So that's a quick, easy little exercise. Don't go up too high, just enough to get the words out. As I said too in the warm-ups, emphasize every single syllable. Every breath, every mess, every tear, you know I'm always near. Little things like the diphthongs, once again, look them up if you haven't yet. You know I'm always near. I'm always. I has a lot of diphthong in there. I, always, a. Make sure you get every part of that diphthong. Every tear, you know I'm always near. Feels weird, but makes a big difference, okay? So that's the first exercise. It's easy to do. You can take any song. In fact, anytime, even when you're trying to sing in just your mix, when you're trying to sing the higher note, not even in just head voice, take your head voice and do that there. Because what is the mix? It's part of the chest. It's part of the head voice, okay? So if your head voice is very weak and not really there, and you're trying to mix, well, you're still using 99% chest. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the mix. The stronger your head voice is, the stronger your mix is going to be, all right? So the second exercise, it's one of my favorites. A lot of students of mine have done this exercise. I like to use two different consonants, and I just go through the vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U, basically, okay? My first one, my favorite one is a W, W. Because a W, it's just enough air, it's a little chill, it's relaxing. Whoa, just makes you want to relax. So you take it, way, we, why, whoa, woo, okay? Way, we, why, wo, woo. Okay, now I'll go back to that A. What I do is hit every single one of those, all 5 of those, right on that A. Way, we, why, wo, woo. Way, we, why, wo, woo. And I make sure the breath is flowing. I make sure there's a nice consistent W on each one. And I get the full diphthong when required. Way, we, why, wo, ooh. Okay? Way, we, why, wo, woo. Way, we, why, wo, woo. And once again, as I said in the warm-ups, what you don't want to do is scoop. Way, we, why, wo, whoop. That'll just make things more difficult for you in the future. Stay on the pitch. Way, we, why, wo, woo. Way, we, why, wo, woo. And the one little thing I like to do too, to make sure the breath is going, take your hand, take your fingertips, touch the tip of your nose. Sometimes I'll tell a student that and they'll have their hand out here and I'm thinking, you have to have a lot of breath to hit your hand out there. What you're doing is you're just making sure there's enough air touching the palm of your hand. Way, wee, why, whoa, woo. Now we don't want to force it. It's not, way, wee. It doesn't feel good. It'll dry out. Don't do that. But just enough breath. If there's no breath, way, wee, why, whoa, woo. Yes, you're working on chord closure, but what you're not doing is using something that's, you can just transfer to a song very much, okay? What I try to teach too is to get rid of the tension. If you're squeezing it, way, wee, why, whoa, woo, that works for some therapeutic things. If you just can't get your head voice out after a while, sometimes it takes a couple months, it really does. If your head voice is going, way, whoa, and you have parts where it just goes in and out, keep doing it. If it's real shaky, think of it like you're riding a bike, extremely slow. The handlebars are all over the place. You're shaking because you're trying to balance. Your vocal cords are doing something very similar. That's okay. Keep working through it. There's no quick, easy answers with the voice. You have to do some very tedious work sometimes. But the cool thing about it is if you fall, you don't get scraped and bruised, you just have to restart. It's that easy. So 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, if you focus on this light little head voice stuff, you'll be just fine. So anyway, that's the exercise, minus one little part, and there's a very fun, extremely important part coming up, okay? So we can keep going up, way, wee, why, woo, woo, way, wee, why, woo, woo, way, wee, why, woo, woo, and keep going up the scale, and that's just fine. There's one little thing I like to do at the end that really makes the head voice work, basically. Oh, sorry about that. My buddy Cotter's calling me. I gotta hit him back up. But anyway, what we're doing here is when we come at the end of it, basically, when we come back down, way, wee, why, woo, woo. What I like to do is slide down a fifth. Way, wee, why, woo, woo. Okay? Way, wee, why, woo, woo. And when I slide back down, what I want to do is slide into the mix. Now, Chris, but I have a passaggio there. I have a flip. What do I do about my flip? You go through it, okay? Woo! If it does that, okay. There's a little trick. In fact, it's not even a trick. It's just something to focus on. As you descend, way, wee, why, woo, woo. Don't go in here. The flip will be that much more difficult. Don't go to here. The very forced low larynx sound. Don't do that. What you want to do is keep it, think of it as very bright, kind of almost childish. Way, wee, why, whoa, whoa. It's right here. It's a little bright. It's a little brash, but that's okay. Way, wee, why, whoa, whoa. It's a little Broadway, actually. Way, wee, why, whoa, whoa. And just keep working through that. And on the way down, when you slide through the passaggio, when you slide through that flip, just roll with it. I'm telling you, just roll with it. Aim for the bottom note, woo, and keeping it bright. What happens is the more and more you do it, that'll start smoothing out. And guess what? When you want to go on those full blast mixed notes, same note, nay, nay, nay. When you want to get up there, guess what? It's easy to do because you've been rocking through that mix already, through that head voice, strolling down through there, sliding and gliding through that passaggio, you're getting that so relaxed and so warmed up and so ready to go. Keep doing it, all right? Next time I'll tell you a little bit more how to slide up through it, all right? But for now, it's all about head voice, relaxing, getting the airflow moving, and sliding down. I like to slide down a fifth. If you don't have an instrument or something with you, you can just chill. Wait, why, whoa, whoa. Sometimes I go real low. Wait, why, whoa, whoa. And just connect it. And the other two, the second consonant I was talking about was the N, actually, which also goes back to the place I used to work, because this one works extremely well. I just love doing it too. The nay, it's the nay, all right? I start with the nay, but I still use my vowel sounds, but you can do nay all you want in head voice. It's great for it. The one little thing, the mistake I find with a lot of students when they hit the nay is they have a tendency to get with the G and go nay, 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 because they're trying to hit the note rather than focusing on the way to say nay. If you ever feel that when you say nay, it feels pressure, you have trouble getting the note, look at the way you're saying it. It's not nay, because what happens is if you go nay, you're squeezing in here and you're blocking your air. Don't do that, okay? Think of nay as neighbor. My neighbor right over there, okay? Nay. Very simple. A horse says neigh. A horse does not go neigh. Horse says neigh. Very simple. And if you keep that air flowing, neigh, nee, nine, no, no. Neigh, nee, nine, no, no. It's very easy. Neigh, nee, nine, no, no. Neigh, nee, nine, no, no. Neigh, nee, nine, no, no. And I kind of make a circular motion. I don't know why. Whenever I'm sliding through the bridge, through my flip, I like to picture, I don't know why, but I picture a wheel or a big stone wheel rolling down a hill. There's nothing that's going to stop it. So I feel it's like it's just rolling. And for some reason, I picture that, and it helps me just glide through that passaggio much better. Nay, 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 no, no. It just helps me picture it. So you don't want to do that when you perform. You know, you could if you wanted to. I'd be flattered if you said, Chris Keller taught me this, and you do that from stage, but you don't have to. That'd be weird to do. But if you want to do it, by all means. I don't do it, but if you want to, you can do whatever you want. So, but anyway, y'all, those are some of the ways I love to approach head voice. I'll do a second head voice video, and who knows, I might do another 10 of them, because head voice always is loaded with questions. But just remember, take the words, learn how to speak in head voice. Think more falsetto first. Think of that more, you know, it's like a light whisper in head voice. Don't think of it as heavy head voice from the very beginning. You're not going to have a good time if you start that way, because it's much easier to add a little pressure and create that, you know, that kind of Jersey Boys sound, more the R&B stuff. It's much easier to build into that than it is to learn that way and then take the pressure off. So building pressure as time goes on, as you learn more, is a much healthier, much stable, much more consistent way to approach the head voice. So breathe in, let the breath back out. Focus on speaking the words very clearly, be very articulate, enunciate every single part of the word. Do it in head voice as much as you possibly can. You'll also realize you need a lot of breath to do it properly, and that's okay. If you run out of breath, just keep doing it. You'll be just fine, I promise. All right? And the other one is the way, we, why, whoa, woo, and nay, nee, nigh, no, new. Start at the top. I like to start with like an A, B flat, B. You start wherever's comfortable and just work your way up about half an octave. Work your way back down a half an octave. When you get a little bit more comfortable, start your slides. Keep them bright on the way down. Way, wee, why, whoa, whoa. It's not the cleanest, but that's okay. We're not looking for the cleanest, most flawless connection right now. We're looking at taking pressure off. And really, we're connecting parts of our voice. We're working with parts of our voice. That's what matters. The ability to use that part of our voice is more important than the actual connection through the middle of it. All right? So, any questions, y'all, please feel free to hit me up. I am available. ChrisKellerVXStudios.com. I forgot my own website for a second. But get at me there. I even have some vocal blog stuff. I haven't posted in a little bit, but I'll put some new stuff. But read through that if you have some questions as well. Really, I'm available for lessons, Skype, in person here in good old Nashville. And it's 70 degrees right now, so if you're cold in the north, where I'm from Central Illinois, and they have a lot of ice right now. It's 70 degrees here, so come on down and take a lesson this week. We'll be around. And most importantly, more than anything, to all my followers, all my subscribers, I appreciate you so much. Get out and sing. Don't let anyone tell you you're not good. Don't let anyone tell you you can't sing. Never let yourself tell you that, because you can sing. Anybody can sing. I'm a firm believer in that. And anybody can get out and do amazing things with their voice if you just get out of your own way. All right? So I love y'all. Thank you. And stick around for the next one. Take it easy.